Picture it, 1954. A massively underestimated West German football team steps onto the pitch to face off against an absolute titan of the sport. Welcome to our explainer on what is hands down one of the most legendary upsets in international sports history, the miracle of Bern. We're going to dive into a story packed with crazy resilience, brilliant strategy, and a triumph against, well, literally all odds.
But, we really have to ask ourselves, can 90 minutes of football actually heal a fractured nation? That's the real heart of our explainer today. Because this match, it wasn't just about lifting a trophy. For a post-war Germany still heavily reeling from the trauma of the Second World War, this specific game became a vital psychological turning point, a real catalyst for a complete cultural rebirth. Okay, let's get right into Section 1, the mighty Magyars. 4. Just think about that number for a second. That is exactly how many agonizingly long years the Hungarian national team had gone completely undefeated before this final match. 4 full years. To the entire global football community, they weren't just good, they were completely invincible. Universally feared as the mighty Magyars, this juggernaut didn't just win games, they absolutely dismantled teams. They boasted this incredibly stacked roster headlined by the legendary Ferenc Puskás. And get this, they had actually already played West Germany earlier in the group stages of this very tournament and completely crushed them 8-3. So, going into the final, a Hungarian victory felt like a total formality.
Which brings us to Section 2, an impossible start. So, the highly anticipated final kicks off in Bern, Switzerland. And right out of the gate, within just the first 10 minutes, Hungary does exactly what everyone on the planet expects them to do. They rapidly snatch a commanding 2-0 lead. It seemed to totally confirm their undisputed status. For West Germany, the task suddenly went from really hard to practically impossible against an opponent of this caliber.
But then we hit Section 3, the tactical fightback.
Now, the philosophical contrast between these two squads is staggering. The heavily favored Magyars were built almost entirely around spectacular individual brilliance. West Germany, on the other hand, had this incredibly astute manager, Sepp Herberger, and he drilled his squad with an innovative, teamwork-heavy tactical approach. It was this intense, rigid discipline designed very specifically to neutralize Hungary's individual superstars. And relying completely on that strict discipline, West Germany did the unthinkable. They dug deep, showed incredible resilience, and somehow miraculously erased the deficit, tying the game up within just 10 minutes of Hungary's second goal. Seriously, it was a rapid-fire fight back that completely shell-shocked the entire stadium. All right, let's look at Section 4, the miracle of Bern. So, after that crazy equalization, the West German defense really had to buckle down. For the vast majority of the match, they mounted this agonizingly tense defensive stand, just absorbing wave after wave of overwhelming Hungarian attacks. They held firm. And then, out of nowhere, in the 84th minute, Helmut Rahn spots his opening and strikes this dramatic, absolutely unbelievable winning goal. 3. Following that miraculous strike by Rahn, the final few minutes were basically just frantic, desperate defending. But they held on. When the final whistle blew, West Germany had somehow secured a 3-2 victory, definitively shattering Hungary's invincible 4-year streak right there on the pitch. No way anyone saw that coming.
Let's wrap things up with Section 5, a nation's rebirth.
You see, the miracle of Bern is way more than just a sporting achievement. It stands in history as a pivotal moment of cultural and psychological rebirth. For a post-war Germany that was still deeply scarred and recovering from the trauma of the Second World War, this unbelievable underdog story served as a crucial step toward their reintegration into the international community. It proved to a fractured country that incredible things were actually still possible. Try to picture the scene back home for a second. The public wasn't watching this on massive high-definition screens. They were huddled together, glued to their crackling radio broadcasts. As that impossible 3-2 result poured through the airwaves, the joy just spread like wildfire. It ignited this profound sense of national pride and brought real psychological healing. It gave a population a unified moment of hope exactly when they needed it the absolute most. So, as we finish up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this. How does a single sporting upset continue to shape a nation's cultural identity today? Just think about how a simple game of football, won through calculated teamwork against supposedly invincible individual brilliance, became the very foundation of a nation's post-war rebirth. It is a powerful reminder of how sports can totally transcend the game itself,
Thanks so much for joining me to explore this amazing piece of history.